Hi, Marty. Thank you for joining me on the podcast. How are you doing?
Yeah, great. Thank you, Elfie. Great,
Good.
great.
Well, you're halfway through with Greatest Hits tour. How's that going?
Yeah. It's going. It's been fantastic. Better than I thought it would be, to be honest with you, because COVID took away a lot of people, a lot of of people that would normally have come to see my shows. It decimated for a while, but people, I've been fortunate enough to have people of I guess of younger age coming in as well, as well as people of my age, which is quite sort of considerable age. People are coming in many years younger, so that's great because I love to do the show. The show is a great experience for me, and it's a chance for people to see someone in part of musical history, not so much me, but the history of rock and roll. To be able to sing a few rock and roll songs, which I do, apart from anything else, and it's just, it's just a joy to do because and I'm singing, it's a bit strange of a man of my years singing "Teenager in Love," but they love that song and they love, they're happy when they're seeing my show. So, and I love doing it. I absolutely do.
Well, you've released a new single called Rise. How did that come about?
Well, I wrote the song, I started to write that song probably maybe 3 years ago. And then like so many of my songs that I write, I put them on hold for a while. And then maybe 6 months ago, I played it to a few people and they said that they liked it. And so I thought, right, we'll go out, we'll pick it out as a single. And so that's how it came about. But originally I wrote it for a girl. It's a girl song in many ways. It's I can imagine a girl diva, a diva type song singing it. And but since I couldn't get Dolly Parton to do it, she won't answer the phone when I ring her. You know, so I decided I'd sing it myself.
Is that a single part of an upcoming album then?
Yes, it is. I've got maybe 4 or 5 tracks which at the moment I've got four definitely. So there'll be about 9 or 10 songs on it. And been writing one today, and I've got another two. I've got another 3 songs that I've got to get down. So there's about 7 or 8 songs already. So it's pretty much there, and it won't be released the album until after Christmas, probably in January sometime.
All right, nice. Yeah. Well, was it 2020 you released your last album?
Yes, it was. Yes, it was. Yep. Yep. Running together. Yeah.
Yeah, and that album means that you were in the charts 8 decades. You had chart success.
Oh,
Were you?
that's right. Yeah.
Is that that a proud moment for you?
It was. Yeah. I mean, I never, when you're working like that, you never you never start to think about any achievements or what you've done. You just do things and just get on with it. So it came as a bit of a surprise, but yes, I was very yeah, I was absolutely thrilled.
We'll get back onto that album soon, but I just want to go back a bit. When did you first take an interest in music?
Oh, from a very young age. Oh, that would have started when probably as young as 2 or 3. I was always singing. I remember my father during the war in the army. He sat me on his shoulders, and I sang to the boys in the army. I sang because I sang about my father. It was a song which it mentioned his name in the song. So, and the boys loved the army boys loved that. So even from then, and then as I grew up, I learnt I was always singing, playing around, and then I learnt to play the ukulele from a friend at school. He had one and I wanted one, so I got one. And then that led to the guitar because the tuning is very similar to a guitar to a ukulele. So it went, and then I was discovered singing, and then rock and roll came along. I was discovered. So it's always music has always been, and singing has always been particularly music has been a huge part of my life. Huge.
What was it like when rock and roll had started coming over from America?
Phenomenal. The best thing ever. The most exciting time, the time. Nothing can touch that. Nothing can. Because it was like, I don't know, it was a bit like almost like an alien coming down and making some sound and the whole world going crazy for it. Because we'd never heard anything like that. Although it had been around, the blues had been around forever and country western music. But when the two were fused together and Rock Around the Clock came out, and this very heavy accent on beat, on rhythm, that was the first, and that's what that got me. I mean, I wasn't particularly a fan of Bill Haley, although I admire him and respect him, but I wasn't a huge fan. But the rhythm section on his Bill Haley's records is quite phenomenal. And live music like that, played like that, was so exciting. And I thought, this is it. I want to be part of this. It was great.
Well, one of your biggest idols was Elvis. What was it like when you first heard him?
Oh, huge impact. Well, not no, not the very first time I've heard him. A friend of mine, because he was like he'd got a name with Heartbreak Hotel, had come out as a record, and I'd heard that on the radio a little bit, and didn't play a lot, but they had played it, and they said there's this new sensation from America, but you couldn't really tell a lot about his voice because it was in so much echo, which was all part of the process of those early records. But once then a friend of mine had an album, the very first album, which I've still got, and he said, "You want to buy it? It's 17 and 6 in old money in those days." And I said, "Yeah, I'll buy it." But I thought, all right, well, I'll try it anyway. But I was blown away. I was just blown away.
Well, he heard your song "Bad Boy" and said it was going to be a hit. Uh,
He did. He did. A friend, Lamar Fike, who was one of his right-hand men, was over in the UK. He was coming over quite regularly. And he said he tried to arrange for me to see Elvis. But on the day that I was supposed to see him, which was in Germany, a few days before, a TV came in. Ironically, I was plugging Bad Boy, which was a song, the first self-penned song I ever had that was a hit. And so obviously I had to plug my record and my song. But I said, Lamar, I said, do me a favor. I said, will you take the record over, at least play it to him and see what he thinks. And he said to Lamar, that'll be a hit. He said, that's definitely a hit. So that was just nice.
well, you mentioned that was your first self-written song that was a hit. Were you always writing songs at this point?
Yeah, I was. Even at that point, yeah, I was. I was writing songs just round about the beginning of rock and roll. That's when I first started to write. Because prior to rock and roll, it had been all sort of like ballad singers, and the songs were quite old-fashioned by my in my mind they were, because like songs like we kiss in a shadow afraid to be heard, which is a gorgeous song and I love it to bits, but it wasn't me and it wasn't my style. And so all these songs like Wanted were coming out, Perry Como singing all these songs, and they weren't reaching me, and then suddenly bang, I'd always liked I like Guy Mitchell and I love Frankie Lane. Frankie Lane was my favorite. And I thought he was just made what great records. But then obviously rock and roll came along, and then I concentrated mostly on Elvis.
What was it like playing the London clubs in the early days?
Playing the London clubs.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, not really. I mean, most of the time they weren't clubs. They were big theatres in those days, the Moss Empire theatres and places like that. I played mostly theatres. There were no clubs. There weren't that was a style that came in much later. I wish there had been in many ways, but there again, the theatres were an education anyway. So I mean, whatever happens, just to be able to work is a great thing. In those days, to work on as I say, it would have been better if it had been a club because it would have been a younger person, younger people. But there again, I was lucky just to be able to get on the theatres anyway.
Well, you were young when you got a deal, and then when you're 19, 20, you're one of the big British rock and roll singers. How do you deal with that fame at such a young age?
To me, it wasn't. It didn't mean much, to be quite honest with you. I was not phased by it at all because it was, to me, it had been my life. I just wanted to sing. I didn't care about, and obviously you did care about um, uh, adulation. You wanted the fans to love it, but that wasn't the be all and end all with me. I just wanted to sing, and I just wanted to, you know, make people happy really, and hope that it works. And it did. I mean, I was a very lucky man, and I realized that every day. But that in that time, um, yeah, it was just grateful for it, and as I say, I thank whatever you thank or whoever you thank, I thank every day.
Well, you were touring a lot, like you say, and then you played a UK tour in 1964 with up and coming bands like the Rolling Stones and the Ronettes. What was that tour like?
Yeah, that was great. We spent most of our time watching the Ronettes, but yeah, the Stones. Yeah, that was on that tour. In actual fact, Jeff Beck was one of the Yardbirds, and Jeff Beck was the one who caught my attention. Obviously, the Stones, because they were you could tell the Stones were going to be a big band. You could tell they were going to be by the audience reaction. But Jeff Beck was doing things with the guitar which were quite new and exciting, and I just had I've always had instincts about musicians, and I've always been absolutely right. I just had a feeling about the guy. I thought Jeff Beck was going to be great, and of course he was. He's one of my favorite guitarists.
What is it that makes it stand out to you? Is it just the musical side of things, or how the look and how the performance stuff?
What with guitarists?
Yeah, like any actor, guitarist, singers, anybody.
Oh yeah, I do. Yeah. Obviously, if they've got a sound I like it, if you like the sound and you like their style. But sometimes sometimes I can spot people that way before they become stars. I just know that they're going to be stars. I've spotted umpteen acts, even comedians. I've spotted young comedians who've just started, and I thought you're going to make it. No question about it. You're going to be a big star. And I've always been right, and it's weird. I wish I could prophesy with my own career, which I can't. But I could tell you, if I see someone and I think that they've got it, invariably I'm right. I should have been a manager. That's the truth of it.
Yeah, yeah. When you write a song, then with that same like vision, do you know it's going to be a hit, or if it's not going to be a hit?
You have a reasonable idea. You can't jump the gun. You can't, you gotta, sometimes you write a song and you love it. I might love it and think it's one of the finest pieces of work that's ever come out into the musical world. And then the audience might think, what a load of old rubbish, or not so much rubbish, but we don't like it. It's not really us. And that happens with a lot of songs that one writes. But by and large, I just go by if I like it, if I like the song. I mean, I'm the one that's if I'm writing my material, I'm the one that has to do it. Times then I have a reasonable idea that it would do reasonably well. But for example, in the case of Kids in America, my only feelings about it, Mickey Most, when he was playing it in the studio before it was released, he said, "What do you think?" So I said, "I think it will make the top 50." He said, "I think it will make the top three." And that was it. So I couldn't see I couldn't hear what I was too close to it. And but there again on Checkered Love, I knew that was going to be a big hit. I just knew it. I mean, some of the songs and You Came, which I didn't write, but I knew You Came would be a hit. I knew Four Letter Word, which I was involved with, would be a hit. So yeah, you get a buzz, you get a feel.
Is it the same when you'd cover songs as well? Like, how would you pick what songs to cover, and would you know? Obviously, you've got to put your own style on it. So would
Yeah.
you know that that'd be a hit as well?
Well, yeah. Well, I never. I covered loads of songs, and I, by and large, I've always preferred the other versions, the original versions, more than mine.
Really?
Yeah, yeah. But I like my version of Donna, because obviously that was a big, very big British hit for me. But Richie Valens, who wrote the song, I love his version, and I love Dion's version of "Teenager in Love," which it's just that I outsold him. I should write apologies to him, but you know what I'm saying. I'm not a fool. I know what I like and what I love, and so many times. When I recorded "A Sea of Love," which was obviously was a cover, that song I did like. I liked it. I liked my version of it, because it was different to the original version. Very, very different. And so yeah, some of the songs, but most of the songs I covered, uh, that they were lovely and all that. But I'm much happier now that I can try to write, try to that I've written for other people and given other people hits, as well as my own daughter. But no, it's nice to write for me now sometimes.
Yeah, definitely. Well, on the rock and roll scene, you had like acts such as Cliff Richard and Tommy Steele. Was it a rivalry or was it like were you close with them or did you say it was rivals?
Cliff and I have always been really good buddies, but we were rivals. Make no mistake of that. I'm always a rival. And Tommy Steele. Tommy's, great, great artist, but yeah, we were all rivals. All right, don't you worry. It's you gotta. Well, you just do your best. I mean, if your best is not good enough, then that's just the way life goes. And I didn't always get the best result on things. Sometimes I wasn't on, it wasn't, you just knew inside that it wasn't the best thing you were doing, but the rivalry was always there, and will always will be with me. I'm very keen to succeed, but not stupidly, thankfully, and I keep my feet on the ground. I don't have any false illusions about myself, none whatsoever. But I just write and keep trying. It's as simple as that, really. It's like all things in life. You've got to keep your head down. Just keep working away at it. Keep and my latest single, which is called Rise, there's a line in it which says, "Cherish your dreams," and I think that's a great thing for young people to have as a motto. Cherish your dreams. If you've got a dream, keep it. Try and follow it. Try and reach it. Try and reach your goal. Sometimes you might fail, but at least have a go. Try it. Go for it.
Yeah, that's a brilliant message. I agree with that. You're a real family man as well, so it must have been proud having three of your children feature on your last album.
Yeah, it is. It's lovely. It was a lovely thing. Yeah, I'm very proud of them, but I'm quite mercenary. I use Kim for certain kind of things, and I use Roxanne. I've used her for certain kind of songs. In other words, I go by tone. The tone is that Rox and Kim have got very different tones. They're not exactly the same, and they're both strong in their own areas. So sometimes Kim's be much better than Rox, and sometimes I think Rox is probably better in a backing vocal sense than Kim. But it's a bit like me. If they had me or Cliff, Cliff would be probably who's doing harmonies would be much stronger than me in some, but I would be a lot stronger than him in others. So it balances out in the end.
Well, Roxanne has got a great voice. It was great to hear her take on lead vocals on a few songs.
Yeah, 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 yeah. She's on my next album. We sing a duet. It's a sweet song. It is. It's a lovely song with a big orchestra, and so I'm looking forward for people to hear that. Yeah, it's lovely.
And with Kim, she was obviously a big star in the 80s. So having a father who's experienced like high level of fame and been there and done it, did you give her much advice within the music industry?
Yeah, I did to a certain extent because you can only advise so much. A person's got to, she had to be what she was, really. I didn't ever advise her on, she kind of had her own clothes designs, what she wanted. She used to go to the secondhand shops and pick up, most of the clothes that she used to wear were secondhand. She'd go to get some kind of, old-fashioned fashion or whatever. But yeah, and she had her own style. I couldn't never influence that, but I could influence her maybe one or two times with phrasing. I might say, "Oh, change that phrasing. Sing this bit, and see what you think." And then she would try it, and then it worked or whatever. It didn't work. So now and again, I would. But I toured with Kim on her very first tour because I wanted my insight into the running order of her show, and which I thought would be important and was, and also just generally to watch how the audience were reacting to certain songs, and I would say change that song. Don't do that early on. Do that later, or come in with a much stronger song at this point. It's little things like that, but by and large, she was doing it on her own. She has to be her own woman.
Did you want your kids to go down the musical route?
I never thought of it, to be honest with you. It was my fault. I wanted my son Ricky to, and he obviously, he's just a stunning musician. But with Kim, it came as a bit of a surprise to Ricky and to me, really. It just happened out of the blue. I mean, she did a demo. She backed Ricky on a demo that went down to Mickey Most at Rack Records, and Mickey said, "Who's the girl? Who's that girl singing?" So Ricky said, "That's my sister," and that's how that whole thing started. It was quite incredible.
Yeah, yeah. Well, mentioning Ricky, he co-wrote some of Kim's biggest hits with you. How would that songwriting partnership work?
With Ricky,
Yeah, yeah.
that was fabulous. He's wonderful to work with. And we had a lot of hits together. Yeah, I mean, he was great. He's just great to work with. And I see, I love synthesizers and as well as rock and roll, and the synthesize part of my life was him very important. And he's a great synthesizer player, and he could get up sounds. If I heard a sound or he heard a sound, we could get it up. If you want a French horn there, or you want a string section there, or you want a bell there, whatever you wanted, he could get it up, and he has incredible taste. He's got something that money can't buy, and that is when he plays his chords. He does it with he's got his own feel, which is right. It's when I say it's right for me and him, and it's proved to be right with the public because he wrote with Kim You Came, which is a lovely song. I think it's a gorgeous song, and Never Trust a Stranger. And they were writing great. They've written together great songs. So, but because he is just an awesome talent, and he helps me out now and again if I get into a situation where I need something, he's always there for me. So, he's just a great, well, it's like, it's unusual, I suppose, to have someone that, is that talented, I suppose, in a way, so close to me. I mean, normally that's when you reach out and get someone else to do your work, but when it's your own son, and I can honestly say, I of all the keyboard players I've ever worked with on synths, he's the best. He was the best. He was out in his own world. He was out very inventive on the synths, very inventive. And yeah, he was the man. Still is. Still
Yeah.
is.
So when you're writing a song, say like Kids in America, for instance, how
Yeah.
would that come about?
He wrote that on a tiny little machine, a single notation machine. I can't remember what it's called now, but it was a tiny little synth. It wouldn't have been more than 2 feet long or a foot and a half long, but it had this tiny little, and he wrote it on that. And I could hear him going up in this house that you're talking to, in this house here, upstairs in the bedroom, in the small bedroom where it was his bedroom. I could do all this. That's all I had. There was something about Kids in America, like you follow a song by instinct. We had this. He started to write the melody line, and then I said to him, I said, we call it Kids in America. He said, yeah. I said, yeah. I said, I can see these skyscrapers with all these young teenagers' faces superimposed behind the skyscrapers, enlarged. And we had I had an idea. Didn't turn out that way, but the song was basically the lyric side of it. Rick wrote the melody lines, and I the lyric really was about the young teenagers in America at that point were pretty they were a really frightening bunch of people. I thought, God knows what they were going to turn out like. Well, what they turned out like, I don't know all of them, but some of them, their attitudes were quite deplorable. And I thought, my God, in the big wide world you come out, you're going to be lethal. And so that's how that started, that wanted to get that there was this kind of rebel kind of feeling in Kids in America, and the girl attitude. It was I wrote it. Obviously, I wrote it for Kim, but it was very much a girl song. It was a woman telling a guy, a young girl telling a guy, you're not the boss, I am. Don't look at your watch, don't check this out. I'm in charge, and that's what because that was really based on the way Kim was as well at the time. She was no fool, and she wouldn't be put over by anybody. And she had this almost same attitude of these frightening kids from America. But I thought, well, I'll make them really tough and quite aggressive in a female sense. And so that's how that song started. Really, it was inspired by some really tough teenagers in the 80s, and so it came on. That was how it was.
Well, you've wrote loads of hits for different people, such as Status Quo, Tom Jones, Lulu. How do you know which songs you're going to keep and which songs to give away?
Yeah, I think whatever comes along at the time. I mean, if let's say Bruno Mars. Do you like Bruno Mars?
Nah, not really.
Yeah, I like Bruno Mars. I think Bruno Mars is brilliant. I think he's got a great voice. But I've got one song which is I've just written today, finished today. And if Bruno Mars said to me, "I'd like that song," I would say, "Go on, take it then." In other words, I'm not an ego trip like that. I never resented writing hits for Kim. I never wanted to sing them. I wanted them for her. And if I write a song for Lulu, it's for Lulu. And if I write a song for someone, it's theirs. It's not mine. It's my song, but it's theirs.
So, say like Bruno Mars, for example, then have you got him in mind when you're writing it, or is it after you finished you think, oh, that'd suit him?
No, it's after when you finish, you got a song and you think, yeah, that would be this really would suit him, or her, if you write a ballad or a girl, but these days it's very hard to get songs to artists because they're covered. Normally they've got a load of greedy people all around them who won't allow songs in. So that no matter how good they are, doesn't matter. Those 7 people or 6 people are going to write the next single, so they get greedy, and the artist doesn't get the chance to. I can't get songs. They get turned down, and they say, "No, I'm sorry, but we've got we have a team that write and all that sort of stuff." So good luck to them. I think you should take what the best song, not necessarily the damn 7 or 8 people that write the songs for you. If it's that great, you cover it. Not just because you got this team who want money. By the way, they use those kind of people. They use the artists as a milk cow. As a cow. It's a cash cow rather. Sorry, not a milk cow, a cash cow, because that's their money. And I get angry with it because I think a big artist, should be able to hear music from all over the world. And if it's, wherever it comes from, whoever wrote it, if it's the best, it's the best. Do it. Don't just because your team of 6 have come up with some flimsy hit, whatever it's, that's my view anyway.
No, yeah, I agree with that. I agree with everything you just said there. But what advice would you give to us up and coming songwriter if you could give one bit of advice?
A hit song is normally 3 sections: a great verse, a brilliant hook, but a brilliant middle eight. You must get the ultimate song has normally got a great verse, and when the middle eight comes in, it's one you cherish. You think, oh, I love that. I want to hear that again. And then, of course, the hook, which is the ultimate one. But middle eights are very important, and go for titles. Don't pick silly titles. Try and get titles are extremely important. Um, you know, uh, I and as also, the way you deliver a song to a person, you got to try and be cool if you can, if that's possible, and don't be too perturbed if they turn you down. If you're all those writers out there who listen to this, just keep writing. It's important to write. It's very, very important. And if they don't get, listened to by millions of people, at least put it down on the tape recorder or wherever, or on your CD or your phone, to make sure that you keep it. And so it's just important to make music.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you've had a brilliant long career singing and songwriting within the music business. What has been your favorite moment?
Oh, many really. I mean, several. I mean, probably getting my first hit, "Endless Sleep," way back in 1958, and also with Kim, in the 80s, having "Kids in America" going in the charts. They're the two highlights in my life.
Yeah, that's brilliant. And you've said in the past you've tried to retire from music, but you just can't. Is music still important to you today as it always has been?
I would say more so these days, more so. I've got more time now. I'm older to think about it a bit more, and I spend a lot more time writing now, and also with the aid of phones, all my lyrics go on my little iPhone, and I find that brilliant to be able to type away my lyric, and you look at it, you think, well, that's a load of rubbish. I'll change that. When you wrote them down on a piece of paper, they all look brilliant, and they're not. So when you look at the lyrics on a phone, it's such a very critical way of looking. You can see if it's going to be, rubbish or reasonable.
Well, Marty, thank you so much for joining me on the podcast. You're a legendary figure in British music, so it's been a real honour to talk to you.
Well, my pleasure. And if you get a chance, play my new record.
Oh yeah, definitely. I'll share. I listened to it the other day. I think it's a brilliant song,
Oh, thank you.
and I'm looking forward to the album that's coming out.
Yeah, the album is going to be my best album I've ever made. I promise you that. That I do promise. When then next year, when you've heard it, you got to call me, and we'll do a Zoom again.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I'd love that. Yeah, thank you.
Okay. All
Look,
right then.
all right, thank you for that.
My pleasure. All right. Look after yourself. Be lucky and be successful.
You too. Thank you. Thank you so much. See you in a bit.
Bye bye. Take
Bye.
care.
Bye.
Bye.